Hello, everyone. Today's conversation is practical implementation of antiviral nutrition in the year 2020. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Vasquez, and I'll be walking you through some of the more important concepts and more important treatments for the implementation of at least a basic or kind of introductory level of this antiviral nutrition protocol that I've been working on now for approximately 6 years, almost 7 years. So this is the short version of a much longer presentation. Again, emphasizing practical implementation. When I talk about doses in this presentation, I'm talking about adult doses for non-pregnant, non-lactating adults, unless otherwise specified. You'll have to look at my other presentations for additional context and the citations that support this information. Today's presentation, again, is just going to be the practical implementation of that protocol. So I'm going to try to keep this very short, so let's get on with the information for today. You can download several of my articles, including the original article that I wrote back in 2014. Also, last year in 2019, I published online 2 commentaries or replies at the website of the British Medical Journal. You can see those contextualized within an editorial that I also published in 2019 in Journal of Orthomolecular Medicine. Very quick introduction to this topic from my 2014 article and essay. The recent, recurrent, ongoing, repetitive, and predictable international health crises due to viral infections have made very clear the fact that the international community needs to use different strategies to combat viral infections. The fact that these viral infection health crises exist in these modern times is prima facie evidence of the failure of current systems and the need not for new treatments within the same model, but for a new model better suited for international distribution, disease prevention, and broad spectrum effectiveness. The multifaceted model presented originally in 2014 in my book Antiviral Strategies and Immune Nutrition gives us 4 main areas upon which we can safely, affordably, effectively, and rapidly focus our efforts. Number 1, blocking viral acquisition and also targeting the virus directly. Number 2, blocking viral replication. Number 3, supporting immune function. And number 4, supporting cellular and whole body health. These interventions have proven effectiveness, low cost, international availability without the costs, delays, limited availability, and adverse effects of current medical treatments. Again, you can see the details of that protocol in the earlier versions in 2014, Antiviral Strategies and Immune Nutrition, now available as a PDF download from my website, and all of that is included within Inflammation Mastery from 2016. For those of you who are not familiar with the protocol, here's the overall outline. Number 1 is we think about the virus. We think about ways of blocking acquisition to the virus. So that includes strengthening mucosal and epithelial barriers, for example, and anything we can do to directly target the virus. For example, certain botanical medicines are able to permanently inactivate virus particles, and of course, those are the botanicals we would reach for. Part number 2 is blocking viral replication. Part number 3 is supporting immune response, and that includes immune defense and immune tolerance. Part number 4 is supporting cellular and systemic health. Now we can look at those individually in terms of the pathogenic sequence of a viral infection. Viral infection starts with viral acquisition, then we go to viral replication, the immune response, and then the systemic and cellular consequences. Likewise, when we think about interventions, we can also focus our interventions on blocking the virus itself, blocking replication, supporting immune function, and supporting cellular and systemic health. Anytime we can, we would like to use treatments that cover all of those aspects at once. So for example, as I'll show you in just a moment, vitamin D covers all of these bases. It blocks viral acquisition by strengthening barriers. It helps to inhibit viral replication. It supports immune defense, and it also supports cellular and systemic health by reducing systemic inflammation, promoting tolerance, and also specifically supporting mitochondrial function. So now let's dive into the practical implementation of this strategy. I like to start with a strong foundational plan. I call this the Supplemented Paleo-Mediterranean Diet. I first published this in 2005, so that's 15 years ago, as the Supplemented Paleo-Mediterranean Diet. You can also see a publication on this from 2011 in Nutritional Perspectives. You can download that article for free. You can also use it as a handout for your patients. So again, I call this the Supplemented Paleo-Mediterranean Diet. It's a diet that emphasizes the consumption of fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and berries with adequate sources of protein, and I'll show you that on the following page. We also want to ensure that all the nutritional bases are covered, and for that reason we use a professional level multivitamin, multimineral supplement. We want to avoid pro-inflammatory and immune-suppressing foods, and that includes all of the foods that induce hyperglycemia. Also, we want to avoid dysbiosis-promoting chemicals, emulsifiers, and artificial sweeteners. Why would that be relevant to a viral infection? Because those foods that promote gastrointestinal dysbiosis thereby promote systemic inflammation. Systemic inflammation impairs immune function and also promotes viral replication and also exacerbates the consequences of that infection. So we need to think about gut health when we're thinking about treating even a respiratory viral infection. The following table is excerpted from my book, Inflammation Mastery 4th edition, and here you can see some guidelines for protein intake. Now, typically we think of our adult patients as maybe being a recreational exerciser, and you can see the recommended protein intake for that level. However, when our patients are acutely ill, we need to think of them as being competitive against the infection. So metabolically, they're almost functioning at the level of a competitive athlete against the infection. So I think we need to increase their protein intake when they are acutely sick. And to do that, I particularly like whey protein isolate. Each scoop of whey protein isolate provides approximately 10 or 11 grams of protein. So 2 to 3 scoops would get you a little bit more than 20, a little bit more than 30 grams per serving. And that would certainly help our patients when they are acutely sick. Whey protein isolate also contains certain immune globulins and immune factors, we might say, that have been proven to improve gut function and reduce gastrointestinal permeability. And again, that's important for our acutely ill patients, especially when and if they become septic. Whey protein isolate is also noted for its content of cysteine, but not simply cysteine. So if you look at the label here, yes, it says cysteine, but you need to appreciate that when whey protein isolate is processed through a low temperature process, the cysteine is in a form of a dipeptide called glutamylcysteine. So that's the combination of glutamate with cysteine, and that bypasses the rate-limiting step in glutathione formation. So whey protein isolate doesn't simply provide protein, and it doesn't simply provide protein that then gets broken down into amino acids. It does contain bioavailable and biologically active dipeptides. Also, this particular form is easy to mix. That promotes better compliance, and of course that promotes better results. I'm sure some of you have seen whey protein products that are almost impossible to mix, and therefore patient compliance falls off, and therefore the treatment plan cannot work if the patient can't comply with it. Also, you'll notice that whey protein isolate contains a significant amount of leucine, and that helps to promote anabolic processes or building processes during acute infection. And that also includes supporting the proliferation and longevity of immune cells during an acute infection. And I'm sure some of you who are familiar with my work realize that I'm referring to the mTOR pathway. So after we have our patients on a good foundational supplemented paleo-Mediterranean diet, we want to follow that with focused considerations on specific nutrients, including vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, selenium, N-acetylcysteine or NAC, melatonin, glycyrrhizin from licorice root, lipoic acid, and resveratrol is certainly a reasonable addition. So let's look at how all of those fit into my 4-part strategy, focusing again on viral acquisition, blocking replication, supporting immune function, and also supporting cellular and systemic health. I'll show you how all of that works together, starting on this page, focused on vitamin A. So vitamin A definitely helps to support barriers. It also helps to support immune function and proliferation of immune cells, and also provides some level of cellular and systemic support, for example, by supporting the production of